Is any book that I can read to understand what is betting? No. I'm happy to have with me today Julian Ajopardi. Julian, good morning.
Good morning, Dinos. Thank you for having me. I'm fantastic.
Very nice. You are an expert in the human resources area. You are an expert in educating people to have leadership. You are an expert to go through an organization and give thanks. Can you please describe yourself a bit?
I wouldn't necessarily consider myself an expert, but I have a certain amount of expertise in the human resources, leadership, coaching, and organizational culture field.
I would like to start exactly to the hot topic of this podcast. Company culture. What is a company culture, Julian?
I sum culture in one very simple way. Culture is the sum of behaviors.
Interesting.
And it is the same in the culture that you find in any region, any country. What defines a culture is the sum of behaviors.
So eventually you try to be a bit neutral just to describe it and let the company describe their own culture by summing up the behaviors.
Yes, but then companies that take culture seriously also define it.
Okay, so you have just not summing up, but you try also to drive.
Absolutely. Let's not kid ourselves. Today's business world is extremely competitive.
It is.
And today's generational workers are extremely value opinionated.
How it should
and
be.
Value driven.
How it should be.
How it should be. What makes it different and what makes a company culture appealing to potential employees or current employees is how much this culture aligns with their personal value set and belief systems.
Okay.
Everybody is different. Every company is different. What sticks, what makes people stick is how much the company culture that they are working in, not for,
okay,
is also open to its evolution based on what the individuals bring to the table.
Let's make it a little bit more easy for the ears.
Yes.
For instance, there is what many say democratic culture.
Yes.
Or
collaborative culture.
The bottom-up culture.
Or bottom-up culture.
So let's say the bottom-up, the democratic, which you ask everyone.
Yes.
How they should be. You get the opinions. You try to make the sum of these behaviors and attitudes, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you create the result.
Yes.
And there is the opposite. I think we discussed that.
It's a bit more autocratic.
Before this recording.
It's a bit more directional.
Autocratic.
Yes.
Say just one opinion in the company.
It's a main driving opinion.
Would you like to describe a little bit maybe the positive of both? Because
yes.
I think there are positive of both.
Yes, absolutely.
You can't say this is bad or this is good.
Absolutely. Let me start with the autocratic because at times it's actually quite
easier.
It's simpler, yes. Things need to happen at a quicker pace.
Okay.
An autocratic approach might make things happen quicker. By meaning make things happen quicker, it means there's a clearer direction in which the company or the culture, the behavior is going.
I'm getting that.
Because it is determined by, let's say, a figurehead within the organization. The expectation is that everybody follows through.
Very true.
On the other hand, with a democratic or a collaborative culture, you have the possibility of gaining more insight, which a figurehead might not necessarily always have. What you're doing is you're using what we call collective intelligence of your people, which makes then the foundation stronger and more appealing to those within and potentially even those who are looking from outside and looking in.
Coming back to the autocratic versus democratic.
Yep.
You said those positives, and one is fast.
One is faster than the other.
And the other is more appealing.
More appealing. It takes a lot more effort.
Yes.
Because you are dealing with a larger number of people.
Does it make any difference in the productivity? Because to be appealing is not necessarily the objective in a company.
Depends. I mean, statistics tell us that if a culture is appealing, people are more motivated, more engaged, more committed.
So an appealing environment, an appealing culture eventually makes people more productive, efficient. That's what you try to say.
In general, yes. Because they feel a stronger bond with the culture within the organization.
Well, on the autocratic on the other side is that if you don't follow, you are out.
The extreme of it.
You are out. I don't mean that you're not physically out.
But you're not
But you are not part.
It's transactional.
Yes.
At times it can become very transactional.
It does not necessarily has to be always one profile or another.
No.
You can shift.
Yes.
Depends the situation, depends the conditions.
It needs to be adaptive. And today's business the key for today's business and the key also for today's culture is that culture needs to be adaptive. A culture that isn't adaptive will die. In the brief preparation I had for this, I took note of Altenar's mantra, or at least the statement that
I'm very happy to listen to this
that
from
greets
you.
your eye when you log on to your website. And it struck me. And it says, where stability meets flexibility.
Yes.
In my view,
Yep.
that is a perfect introduction to what a culture should be like.
I'm happy to hear that.
There is elements of stability, which are the organization foundations and whatever they may be, potentially value, a mission statement, and all this kind of stuff. That provides the stability for people to understand the direction of the company. Yet you have then the element of flexibility, which means you embrace different cultures, different opinions, dealing with different clients gives you different insight on what is potentially needed, this, that, and the other. So you have the ingredients for a great recipe.
I would like you connect a little bit what we call culture in the iGaming. We are in the iGaming, we are in Malta. It's a lot of gaming culture in Malta. Is it a little bit of a chaotic culture sometimes? Well, I hear that many people jumping from company to company.
Yes. It's competitive.
Yes, okay.
I mean, if you want to, you can call it chaotic, but it's competitive more than anything else.
The chaos is not necessarily bad.
No, sometimes you need chaos.
The universe is chaotic.
But going back to your question, I think there are, like with everything else, different levels and different variants of cultures.
Okay.
An iGaming company is no different to a financial service company.
I would agree, actually.
So the principle applies the same way. It's the sum of behavior and what is probably, it's not no more distinct, but it's the same. Who is the main artifact? Who's the main determinant of the behaviors within the organization? I
think what would create a little bit iGaming different from the rest of the industries is that eventually we're talking about a new industry. Mm-hmm. We're talking about industry without necessarily so concrete standards. For instance, I am an engineer by profession. I had to make surveys and inspections on the ships in maritime. I was next to Lloyd's Register representative. I was not allowed to speak before he speaks. And I had a book with 3,000 pages that every millimeter is written there. So such a concrete industry with all standards in place without any kind of challenge. On the other side, we have iGaming that is a new industry that is shaping at the moment. If you ask me these last years, maybe since beginning of 2000 that they started, born, it looks like an expedition to find new continents. And in a way, is you conquer what you find. That's how I see iGaming. That's why I see the dynamic there. And this eventually comes with some, let's say, non-known education. People come here and say, is any book that I can read to understand what is betting? No, it's a little bit of experience. This is how I would describe the iGaming. Would you find it relevant?
It's a fair point. It's dynamic. It's evolving. It needs to move at the pace of, or actually it sets the pace of regulation. So that is also something which is influencing the type of culture within organizations, the decisions that business leaders take. But to go back to the actual question about culture within iGaming companies, it depends on how you deal with all these changes, with these new, let's say, hurdles or obstacles that the industry needs to overcome. Legislation is trying to keep up with the industry.
Okay.
Industry sets the pace of things. It happens in any kind of industry, especially new ones where there is no legal framework on which to base.
Absolutely.
But then how these things are dealt with internally will determine what type of culture becomes characteristic of a brand. If I, as the leader of a company, stressed or driven that I have to be the pace setter for the industry or for the business, then the likelihood is that my behavior is going to be a little bit more autocratic or guided or directional in order to keep up pace with things.
Absolutely. Understand. iGaming and getting jobs. I would like to say an example. My experience, that was my experience. I was in Malta first 3-4 years when I came here in 2007. I was invited by the ambassador of Greece in a gala. And she asked me, what job you doing? And in a nice, in a humoristic way, I say, we're selling drugs. She was a bit shocked. Say, okay, don't get me wrong. Say, we are in the betting industry. Literally, we call it gaming, but it's gambling. Say, but our drug is less addictive than smoking. You can quit gambling easier than you can quit smoking. The tobacco you can buy it for free. You don't need any license to sell it. In our industry, you need to have many, many licenses. However, I saw in her face a little bit of a stress. Is gambling or gaming in the people's mind something that distracts, and eventually you feel yourself doing something that you shouldn't do?
That's a very good question. I would say for the people not in the industry, probably yes. It is something which is considered to be contributing to some of the, let's use this, bad things that are happening in the world.
Yeah, okay.
But whether or not people want to work in the industry, I cannot speak for that because it has to align with an individual's values.
I do understand the conflict, the internal conflict. Am I doing something good? They say, I remember I wanted to work at some country years ago, and the guys told me, yes, but Dinos, this is against our religious rules. Say there is no religion that finds it good. But back in that, if you do that in a correct and respectable way, gambling is not the problem. The problem is the ones that they do not respect their audience and they try to get advantage of vulnerables.
Like with everything else, whoever tries to take advantage of an industry, a product, a service.
Advantage probably in a wrong way.
Yes. In a derogatory way.
Absolutely.
Yes. By prying on individuals' weaknesses and vulnerabilities. That is not good.
Yes.
That's wrong. But if you do it within the remit of what is acceptable, and that is what is acceptable is determined by the rule of law and etc., then everybody should be free to choose whether or not this is an industry for them to work.
I understand from your contribution in these discussions that nothing is concrete, nothing is necessarily one way or another. Everything has to be with a simple logic, reasonable approach, common sense, and sometimes swinging in between the ideas or between profiles or between extreme cases is probably the best approach. As a conclusion of all these discussions, would you like to say a few things?
Yes, you're absolutely right, Dinos. And one thing I like to tell or share with people when I'm running a coaching session is I like to ask them this question. I ask them, what is business about? And they come up with a lot of things, but rarely do they come up by saying business is about people. Business is all about people. Whether your objectives are financial, technological, or conquering the world, you're going to need people to do it. People to buy your products, people to create your products, people to service your products, people to market your products. If your business is not focused around people, then you're missing the point. Now, people are complex. Add 1,000, you multiply the complexity by 1,000. But it doesn't mean you cannot create an environment where 1,000 people can coexist, aligned with a culture, with an objective, and make things happen.
I remain silent because that series deserves to finish with what you just said.
Thank you very much, Dinos. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.